Hi everybody, I'm Angela Miklas and I'm going to be leading a yoga practice today. So I'm a yoga teacher in training and I'm really excited to walk you through some steps and some mindful breathing practices to help bring us back to center. But the thing I want you to keep in mind, or the word I'd like you to keep in mind through this practice, is just choice. So although it may seem that I'm directing you in a certain way, or we're holding poses for a really long time, just keep in mind this is your body and your practice. That being said, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. So just make sure to take yourself to that edge. This practice is based around bringing our body and our mind closer together. And we can do that using just breathing techniques, pulling air in and out of our bodies. We'll pair that with some movement, and I'll walk you through some, eventually some really relaxing poses, but we'll also be building what they call tapas and heat early on in the practice. So first, we'll start off in whatever position is most comfortable for you. That may just be a seat. Some people like to cross their legs, or you can come into what's called child's pose. Child's pose is also a resting pose. So when we're doing some of those more heated vinyasa poses, always feel free to come back to your seat or to come into child's pose, which is where I will start. So we'll come into child's pose where we have, we're in a seated position, and we're going to reach forward and bring a lot of length here. You can relax your arms. As you start taking some deep inhales and exhales, and just start to notice feelings in your body. Does a sensation come up for you? Maybe a tickle on your cheek, or maybe something that starts to feel a little uncomfortable in your back. You're just going to want to focus your breath in that area. Now we do want to build a little heat in this practice, and one way to do that using our breath is called Ujjayi breathing. Take a deep inhale through your nose and exhale out just as loudly through your nose. So try that a couple of times where you're pulling some deep breaths in through your nose. You can even exhale it loudly out of your mouth. Let's try that one more time. Deep breath in. And exhale, empty out. And as we move through these breaths, if you're in child's pose, I'll invite you to start pulling your shoulders towards your spine, which will lift your arms up a little bit off of the mat. And just start to press your hands down into the mat, just a little bit more firmly. And if you're in your seated pose, you're going to want to move your hands forward to the floor. And everybody will meet in what's called tabletop position. So here, we want to make sure our shoulders are over our wrists. I hope mine are. And then that our hips are over our knees. So if we're paying attention to those areas and we want to do this as comfortably as possible, we're going to want to keep that what they call a plumb line for the most part. And you can play with it a little bit when you get up into tabletop position. Start to move around and put some weight up on your wrists. You can move forward and backward. And just start to notice like some of those feelings in your body. The whole time, keeping that awareness to your breath. And a really good exercise for that in this position are called cat and cows. So what we'll do is on our inhale, we'll round up our back like a cat. And on our exhale, press the air out. And this is cow pose. So then inhale, we round up and we arch our spine, and exhale into cow pose. One more time through. And you can take those at your own pace with your own breath. Now we want to start to build up some of that heat. And a really good way to do that in tabletop pose and get our core and our abs moving. They call this bird dog. So you're going to point out with your right arm and back with your left foot. And this can be an amazing balance and practice. You can like be or and you're probably feeling that right now. But I would just, encourage wrapping your arm around to give you a little bit more stability here. That always helps, and you can lean in that direction. And then you'll reach out this way. And for those of you who've been holding, good job. We'll do it for 3, 2, 1. And you're gonna hug in your knee to your elbow. Kick out. And hug in. Pull in. And if it gets hard, your breath will help bring you back. So just one more time. Press that breath out. On your inhale, you can bring your hand down, your knee back down. Take a breath here, get centered. That built up a little bit of heat. And then we'll be doing this on the other side. That's the beauty of yoga. We have 2 sides for everything. So we're gonna reach out on this side and hold. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on an exhale, we're gonna hug in. And kick out. Hug in, press all that air out and hold. And reach. Now your back leg, you want it kicking like you're pressing against the back wall. And your front arm is that alternate movement where you're reaching out. 2 more times. Last one, you've got this. Awesome. All right. And just keep in mind as it gets harder through this practice, and it will, that you are worth the effort. And this is all very temporary. And you can always sink right back into child's pose. So here, drop your knees out wide. And with each breath, you want to make sure that your tailbone is moving towards your heels. And your arms are reaching forward. Then you're going to take your right arm and thread it underneath your left. And look over to the opposite side of the room. Maybe smile at your neighbor, say hello. And stay here for a few inhales and exhales and just feel that stretching across your shoulder. Then we reach towards the front of our mat. With some deep inhales and exhales here. And then we'll be reaching across to the opposite side. Threading our arm through. Feeling that stretch across our shoulders, which is going to be so important once we get to our sun A's and our sun B's. Now, the pose I'm in is called downward facing dog. So I want you to lift your tailbone up towards the ceiling. And here, you can do what's called walking your dog, where you're just pulling your knees deeply into your chest on either side. And the goal is to not lock your shoulders out, but pick your shoulders up and kind of push your chest towards your upper thigh bones. Driving your heels towards the floor, just feeling that stretch very deeply. I want you to take your left foot to the center of your mat, lift your right foot straight back into the air. And this pose is called three-legged dog. So you can stay here, or you can open, stacking your right hip on top of your left hip. You can pedal out, you can make some circles with your ankle. You want to make sure that instead of opening up wide like this, you're actually driving that right shoulder back down to the floor. Square your hips, bring your right foot down, and drive your left foot straight up to the ceiling. You can stay here or open up at the hips. Just being mindful of your breath. So if it's starting to get hard here, bring it back to that breath. Now we're going to start with some sun A's and sun B's. So we're going to look forward towards our hands, and we're going to, there's some options here. You can step lightly. You can walk up to your hands. You can hop. Now this is a flat back, so halfway lift, and then we'll fold. So here, when we're folded at the top of our mat, you want to look up towards your belly button and drop your head. And it's really important to bend your knees. Like, even if you're bending your knees so much, the most important thing is that your belly is on top of your thighs. And then over time you can straighten up a little bit. Let your head hang heavy in your forward fold. Halfway lift. Reach, rise up into mountain pose. Look up at the ceiling. On an exhale, all the way down to the floor. Up to your halfway lift. And high plank to low. So this is a vinyasa flow. So here's high plank. When you go into low plank, which we'll do in a minute, and I know this is so much fun, holding this high plank and building up all of this heat in our core. Feel free to drop to your knees also. That is always an amazing option. But we can also stay here and get an amazing ab workout. When we're ready, we'll pitch forward, hinge here, so we're making that 90-degree angle into low plank. We bring our chest forward. This is upward facing dog. And then we press back, downward facing dog. So that was our first Sun A. And we'll pick up the pace as we go through. Look forward, step or hop, halfway lift, fold, reach and rise, extended mountain pose. On an exhale, halfway lift, high plank to low plank, upward facing dog. Press back on an exhale, downward facing dog. Now these will start to build heat. Look forward, step or hop, halfway lift, fold, reach and rise, fold all the way down to the floor. Halfway lift, high plank. Oh, and these are always fun when you're in high plank. You can reach over with your knee, touch your tricep, and then try doing it on the other side for 5, 4, 3, 2. I hope I'm not the only one doing these. 1, high plank to low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And they do say that down dog is a resting pose. Not everybody believes that. But also feel free. Child's pose is always available. One more breath in. Downward dog. Now we'll move into our Sun Bs. So things are going to change just a little bit. We can step or hop forward. Halfway lift. Fold. Chair pose. Chair pose. We want our shoulders onto our back, so pull them back towards the spine. And our upper arm bones near our ears as we reach up and we sit back. So most of the weight will go into your heels. And then your knees are going to be over your ankles as much as possible. And this is a challenging pose, guys. And they make us stay here a lot in yoga because it's really good for us. And because we're worth the effort. And because we can do cool things like this. Be so grateful that we have these strong, beautiful bodies, right? On an exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift. And high to low we go. Upward facing dog. Press back into downward facing dog. Woo. It is getting warm. So now we've done our chair pose, so that's usually the indicator that we've switched into our Sun Salutation B. So the next steps are going to be our warriors. So we're going to look forward in between our hands. And we're going to raise up our right leg so gently. Step it in between your hands here. You can drop your, can't remember rights and lefts anymore, left foot down to the floor. And you want to square your hips towards the front wall. And reach up, look up. This is warrior 1. And high to low we flow. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Take a breath. Look forward. Raise your left foot super high. Reach it right in between your feet. Spin your right heel down to the floor. Using your core, lift yourself up. Reach and rise to the sky, warrior one. Look up, reach up. And then high to low, we flow. High plank to low. Upward facing dog, press back. Downward facing dog. We're gonna go through that one more time, a little bit faster. So look forward, step or hop, halfway lift, exhale and fold. Breathe in, chair pose. Look up, on an exhale, fold forward, halfway lift, high plank to low. Upward facing dog. Press back into downward facing dog. Now, lift your right leg high to the sky. Bring your knee towards your nose. Try to touch it if you can, and then step lightly forward. Spin your left heel to the floor. Reach up, look up, warrior one. And then you can open into warrior two. So warrior one, our hips are squared to the front wall. Warrior two, we'll open up our hips this way. We'll look over our right middle finger. Look back at your left hand, make sure it's not doing anything weird. One more breath. Reach back, peaceful warrior. And watch your hand as it takes you all the way down to the floor where you cartwheel and flow. High plank to low plank. Upward facing dog. Press back, downward facing dog. Now let's try that on the opposite side. Lift our left leg high. Reach our knee into our nose. Hold. And then lightly step right in between our hands. Spin our heel to the floor. Reach up into our beautiful warrior one. Open into warrior two. Peaceful warrior, flip in reverse. And cartwheel and flow all the way down. High plank to low. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Building up some heat. So we're gonna look forward. Step or hop. Halfway lift. Bow. Chair pose. I know it's the best. Chair pose is the best, for real. Bring our hands to heart center, and we're going to do what they call a chair pose twist. So we're gonna take our left elbow, make sure our knees are right in line together as we do this twist. Put our left elbow onto our right knee, and twist. And breathe. And if you look up, you can open up. Make sure that knee doesn't creep in front. And then back to chair pose. This is so awesome. All right, bring our hands to heart center. And we're gonna twist in the opposite direction. All right. Doing this with you guys. And it's sweaty. We open up our arms. If you want to get really cool, you can do some side crow. I usually do that so I don't have to be doing chair pose anymore. But here we are in chair pose. On our exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift. Here we go. High plank, low plank, up dog, downward facing dog. Great work, everybody. Woo. All right, so we're gonna look forward, step, spin our heel, warrior one. Open up into warrior two, peaceful warrior. Now as we're back here, we're gonna straighten out our front leg. This is called sky archer. Reach forward. So you're gonna wanna hinge at the hips, reaching forward, and then into a triangle pose. You want to make sure your hips are like pressing towards the front wall. And use your core to lift yourself up. And you could do a wide leg straddle fold here. And take your time here, take what you need. You can do some low lunging. You're reaching across like this. You could do some inversions, handstands, headstands, whatever you feel like. Or just take the stretch. And appreciate where you are right now. And that you're sweating, and you're able to move and get your workout in while you're at school. Bring your feet closer together. So you're gonna have your feet just a little bit apart, with your right foot a little bit ahead. Clasp your hands behind your back and fold over your leg like this. You're gonna wanna bring your nose as close to your knee as you can, or that's the goal. And this pose is never really comfortable for me like this, although it is for some people and they like the arms. I've found having my hands, my fingers pressed towards the back wall is a good stretch. Then we can raise up out of pyramid pose, reach up, and on an exhale, go high plank to low. Upward dog, and press back to downward facing dog. Okay, and now that magic of yoga, we have two sides. So we're going to reach our leg forward, spin our heel, warrior one, into warrior two, peaceful warrior, and here go into sky archer. So straighten that front left leg, reach as you hinge your hip backwards, and then drop into a triangle pose. Now, if you can only get down here, maybe a good idea to have a block, a book, something that you can raise your hand on until you can get down to the floor. It's always a good tool. And then raise up and do the forward fold on this side. And I will try an inversion. But remember, you can do leg lunges, low lunges, or just stay in the stretch and really feel it. A few more inhales and exhales. And then we'll do pyramid pose on this side. So we have our left foot a little bit forward, our right foot a little bit back. Clasp our hands behind our back. Roll our shoulders forward and fold over our leg. And then we'll go high plank to low plank. Up dog to downward facing dog. Look forward, step or hop, halfway lift, and fold. Reach and rise. Extended mountain pose. Bring your hands to heart center. Now, we can go into some equanimity sequence. So what that means is they're just balancing poses now that we've warmed up our body. We've done some sun A's and sun B's. So a balancing pose like tree, you can do a kickstand here at your ankle. And that's a balancing pose because you're still balancing on your left leg. You want to make sure all of that energy in your left leg is pointed towards the floor and just press down and feel that pressure. You could then bring it up to your calf. So that way you're balancing a little more, we're on one leg. Or you could bring it all the way up on the inside of the thigh. But typically they say you don't want it right on the knee joint because the idea is that you're putting a lot of pressure into your left leg and you don't want to be pressing your right leg into that joint space. So either ankle, calf, or you can pull it all the way up. Hands at heart center to start. And as you get your balance and you're pressing your left foot down into the floor, you can reach and rise and grow your tree. And I always find it fun to look at the ceiling and start looking back, all the way back. It makes the balancing very, very difficult. All right, we'll switch sides. So bring your left leg up to your ankle, to your calf, or up all the way. And then bring your hands to heart center. And as you breathe and as you feel your body start to grow that tree. And you're gonna feel some wobble maybe in your foot. So one of the things I like to do is press down right behind my my right toe mound. And just press down hard right there in that spot. At first it gets a little wobbly, but then it gives you that stability. And then you can sort of grow and integrate all the way up your body until you're reaching right up. And that's when you can start to look up and grow that tree. All right, so from there, from our tree pose, we can move back into our vinyasa flow. So on an exhale, fold forward, halfway lift. And you guys didn't realize how many push-ups you were gonna do today, huh? So we're here in our high plank to low plank to high plank, low plank. One more, you got this. Drop to your knees if you need to. So if you're at your knees, what we'll do is we want to do a little bit of side plank. And I'm sorry, everybody drop to your knees because we're gonna be here for just a minute. So what you're gonna wanna do is use one leg for stability as your left leg reaches up and opens up towards that side of the room. So this is our side plank. Now if you want to come back into high plank, you can try that from this stage where you actually roll your feet together and reach up. You can lift a leg, you can drop back into wild thing. So just play with that. And then we can do it for the other side. So drop to your knees. You can drop out to the side. Reach and rise towards the back of the room. Come back into our high plank. And then lower down all the way to your belly. Isn't that great? Put one ear on the mat. Some deep inhales and exhales here. Great effort, great rest. Okay, now we're done resting. Put your chin towards the front of the mat. We're going to go into what's called Lotus Pose. So we're going to look forward and pull our chest up, point our toes back, and breathe. And release down to the mat. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, come into Lotus Pose. Stay open. You can actually flex some people like it if their toes are like a little bit flexed in or like pointed out. It's your preference. Some people find their arms. Some people just want to get out of this pose. Great effort, great rest. All right, this is the last one on our belly, guys. So we're gonna bend our knees, grab at our ankles, and this is called floor bow. So we're going to kick into our hands and lift. And keep your knees together. Keep kicking. Keep breathing. Be glad you don't have to talk. All right, windshield wiper your legs back and forth. We are getting there, folks. Good work. All right. So we can press up, downward or upward facing dog. And back into downward facing dog. And then step 2 and through your hands. We're gonna come onto our backs. Oh, doesn't that feel nice? Don't get too comfortable. So we're on our back. We're going to get into some back bending. So we will do a bridge pose. We will do some full wheel if that's available for you, and I'll walk you through that. But we're going to do a few of them, and it actually does get your heart rate going a little bit. So make sure that your fingertips can just brush the back of your heels like this. Now for bridge pose, you're going to clasp your hands together and start to lift your hips up towards each other. And you just keep pressing your hips up toward the ceiling. And press your feet really hard into the floor. Like, I am not doing that. And that's one of the things that I actually struggle with the most in this pose. So you just want to make sure your feet are grounded, and then you can like press up. And then an exhale, lower down, open up your arms wide. And you can just kind of like rock your knees back and forth. And that's like our counter pose for that. Bridge. So like I said, we're going to do a few of these, and you can do bridge. And full wheel, if that's accessible for you, the way I always start off is same idea. You want to make sure you can brush the back of your heels like this. You want to take your hands, and I point them back towards this wall. Some people point them out to the sides. So you can play around with that. For me, it's best for my wrists to do it this way. Then you just press up so your hips are pointing towards the ceiling. And the way to make sure that, for me, for my wrists, you know, you really have to push into the floor with your feet and push your elbows over your wrists as much as you can. We're going to be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Take a deep breath in and out. And this last one will be your choice. So you can go into bridge. You can go into full wheel. Or if you'd like, you could come to your knees and you could try a camel pose, which I'll demonstrate and you choose. I know if it was me, I'd want to stay on my back. But so camel pose, what we're doing is a back bend on our knees. So on your next inhale, go up. So for camel pose, you'll go up and press your fists into your low back and just arc. You want to keep your hip over your knee and just drop back, looking at the back wall. So press those fists in. And then you could reach over and press your hips towards the front wall too. We'll do this for 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 12, 13, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come out of your back bend. So if you were wise and stayed on your back, or if you tried camel pose, get wise again and get on your back. Into Supta Baddha Konasana. So this is called butterfly pose. So you're just gonna let your knees fall out wide with the soles of your feet together. And you'll have one hand at your heart and one hand at your stomach. Or you can reach your arms out overhead. If you have your hand on your heart, just feel what those back bends did to you. Those back bends can really get your heart racing, but I encourage you to just find your breath. And any area of your body that's screaming, just send it some breath. And help bring that presence and awareness back to your practice. All right. So at this point in the practice, everybody's pooped. But it wouldn't be complete without just a little bit of an ab workout. So we'll do some abdominal bicycles. That's always fun. So what we're gonna do is put our hands behind your head, cradle your head and make sure your elbows fall out wide, and then press your right foot towards the wall. We're gonna do, like, it's easy to do abdominal bicycles, like really fast, where you're like, but let's try and do them really hard and with intention, and that'll give us rocking hard abs for bikini weather, which is right around the corner. So here we go. So we're gonna pull our elbow in towards our knee, super slow, with integrity, and switch. Only a few more. 18, 17, 16, you got this. 15, 14, I am worth the effort. 13, 12, do I have this? 11, 8, 7, so close, 6, we're in single digits, 5, almost 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hug it in. That is the super best, you guys. Abs are brutal. All right. So, we're almost done with our practice. What we're gonna do at this point is what's called our final inversion. So there's a couple of different ways that you could do a final inversion. Some people like to do a headstand or a handstand. That would be an active inversion. Some people like to have their hips up on a block. The idea is that we're just getting our hips up over our heart. So another way to do that is shoulder stand. So you can just bring your hips up over your heart and hold it there. You can drop your knees to your forehead. For some people, it might be easier to run the legs up the wall. So just a little something like this. More of a restful inversion. If you want to try a headstand, it's super simple and I encourage it, and you don't even need a wall to do it. Ready guys, this is crazy. This is a headstand. You're standing on your head. And then as you get a little braver, you can put your feet up. Something like this. So I encourage you to play with that. Take a few breaths in your final inversion. Then I encourage you to lay flat on your back. Pull your right knee in towards your chest. Cross it over the left side of your body. Reach and look towards the right. This is called a supine twist. A couple breaths here, and we'll switch sides. So pull your knee up, bring it across, and reach out to the left. And your final rest. So great effort, great rest. This is your Savasana. So you can lay out flat. Some find it good to actually do a supported leg stance where your knees sort of fall in together and your feet are out to the outsides of your mat. I like that one. And let your breath fall back to normal here. So, those deep inhales and exhales you were relying on, let all of that go. And settle into your final rest. And as you're in your final rest, feel that awareness in your body, those muscles that you've awakened that will be sore tomorrow. But for right now, they're alive, they're electric, and sink deeply into that rest. Imagine what fun life would be if you didn't have those neurotic personal thoughts going on within you. You could enjoy things and you could actually get to know people instead of needing them. You could just live and experience your life instead of trying to use life to fix what's wrong inside you. You're capable of achieving that state. It's never too late. So bring that presence back into you with your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Start to feel that electricity again. Pull your knees into your chest and roll towards your right side, the softest side for your heart. Now calmly roll into a seated position, hands at your chest. The light in me sees and honors that same bright, shining light inside of each and every one of you. Thank you so much for sharing this practice. Namaste. All right, have an awesome day, guys.